The New England Patriots are due for a massive turnaround as we head into next season, and I am so fired up about what this squad can be at its peak. Now, they have been very busy, to say the least, this offseason. They've completely wiped out the coaching staff. They've gotten new guys on both sides of the ball, killed it in free agency, killed it in the draft, killed it in the head coaching market, and now this team is ready to turn around from what was a 4-13 squad that fired a first-year head coach, had a rookie quarterback that really showed some strides, and you had to put the proper pieces around him for him to really get to his peak. And the New England Patriots are now ready to really reach this playoff level caliber team. And I believe that's what they can absolutely be. And it starts with Mike Vrabel. They fired their former head coach in Maye. He was a one and done. The Patriots went an abysmal 4-13 last year. They were last in the division. They were not competitive, to say the least, but you knew that you hit with that rookie quarterback in Maye, who was tremendous. And I'll break down him a little bit later on in this video, but I want to discuss some of the offseason moves that New England made as of late. Now, we know that they fired Maye. They would hire the former Patriot, that is Mike Vrabel, who was an awesome head coach. I have no clue how he was fired in Tennessee. I felt he was a great head coach. Now he is the guy, the culture setter in New England, and that's got to get everybody excited. We know what he can bring to the table. He is a guy that is going to set an amazing culture, a guy that is going to get things right. He had the Tennessee Titans with the number one overall seed in the AFC, had them in the AFC Championship against Patrick Mahomes. But sometimes when you run into the big bad wolf, things aren't going to go great. But regardless, this dude had the Tennessee Titans with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry as the number one seed in the AFC. Now he's returning to the Patriots to bring back some life into this squad. Now, the Patriots also killed it in free agency as well. And as they headed into this offseason, the one major thing that I wanted to see this team do is go out and get Maye weapons. We've seen it time and time again with this Patriots squad. They draft Mac Jones in the first round and don't surround him with the proper weapons, and his career fizzled out. Now, he wasn't the most electric quarterback ever, but you cannot afford to make that same mistake with Maye. And I was begging them, New England, please go get Maye weapons. And that's exactly what they did this offseason. And they started it off with a bang, signing Stefon Diggs to a 3-year, $69 million contract that has $26 million guaranteed. This basically means that if Diggs doesn't have a great first year in New England can opt to move on from him. They don't have to bring him back for those final second and third years. But he has this element of greatness that we've seen in Minnesota, that we saw in Buffalo, and we saw for a little bit in Houston last year. But there are some risks with Stefon Diggs. He tore his ACL last season. He is getting a little bit older. How is he going to bounce back off of this major knee injury? What is his explosivity going to look like? All of those things are definitely big question marks when it comes to Stefon Diggs, and that's why they only signed him to a 1-year deal. But regardless, you now finally have a guy that is going to be a quarterback's best friend, a guy that is going to win off the line of scrimmage. And I kept really looking at this scenario for New England when I looked at Stefon Diggs, when I looked at his time in Buffalo. If you remember, Josh Allen struggled at the beginning of his career. Big quarterback, 6'5", monster of an arm, mobile, all of the things that you see in Maye. Maye was comped as Josh Allen when he was coming into the NFL. Big quarterback, has a cannon of an arm, but needed to clean up some of the inconsistencies in his game. A lot of people compared Maye to Josh Allen. Well, Stefon Diggs goes to Buffalo from Minnesota and helps completely turn around the trajectory of Josh Allen's career. Now, that also was because Allen turned into one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and now he doesn't even need great receivers to be this juggernaut as we saw last year. But Stefon Diggs was one of the major reasons and was a vital part in turning Josh Allen's career around. Now he has the opportunity to do the same exact thing with Maye, a guy who's been comped as Josh Allen. So I think that's a very funny scenario and a great opportunity for Stefon Diggs to prove a lot of people wrong. Everybody's calling him a diva. We've seen some of the videos of him going crazy on Josh Allen on the sideline. I'd love for him to be this great number one receiver, great friendly guy for Maye, and really help propel his career. And they also bolstered up this offensive line, signing former Washington Commander and Morgan Moses to a 3-year, $24 million contract. That's not the only thing that they did to the offensive line, and I'll address that when we hop into this draft a little bit later on. But ladies and gentlemen, the New England Patriots made it very obvious what their goal and intentions were this offseason. They wanted to build this defense back up. That's Mike Vrabel football for you, ladies and gentlemen. They flooded the banks with money on the defensive side of the football. They brought out the Brinks trucks for a lot of these guys, and I love it. I love what Mike Vrabel did. I love what this team's identity is going to be. They want to kick you in the teeth, and they want to be a great defensive squad. And that's what you have to do when you're going up against some of the more elite quarterbacks in the AFC, like a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In my opinion, you have arguably 10 of the top 12 to 15 quarterbacks in the NFL that are all in the AFC. You've got to get it done on the defensive side of the ball if you want to give yourselves a chance. And that's what the Denver Broncos are doing. They're laying the blueprint out right now. Patriots brought up the Brinks trucks. They started it out signing Harold Landry, linebacker, to a 3-year, $43.5 million contract that includes $26 million guaranteed. The Patriots ranked last in the NFL with 28 sacks in 2024, and he's going to really help kind of fire up this defense, really help them get some more pressure on the quarterback. You also look at Robert Spillane in that linebacking core in that front seven. He agreed to a 3-year, $37 million contract. And this is when the Patriots started to really ink some of these big time contracts. Christian Gonzalez is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, young stud. Well, they now have paired him up with Carlton Davis to a 3-year, $60 million contract. He's now going to be on the other side of Carlton Davis. This secondary is looking really nice. They also brought out the Brinks trucks for Mr. Milton Williams, defensive tackle, former Eagle, to a 4-year, $104 million contract. I think this is more of kind of a lottery pick with his upside. Milton Williams didn't necessarily have the statistics that would make you think, why did the Patriots give this guy $104 million? But he can absolutely get it done. Brandon Graham, very high on this guy as well. I think Milton Williams is a great signing for the Patriots. And that was the monster free agency class. They spent a ton of money to really help build the defensive side of the ball. They got Drake Maye, a number one receiver, helped on that offensive line a little bit by getting Morgan Moses, but that's not all they would do. With the 4th overall pick in this year's draft, they signed former offensive tackle for LSU, Will Campbell, a guy that is an absolute dog. If you've seen any interviews of him, he makes me want to run through a brick wall. This guy can get everybody fired up. He says he's going to go out there and die for Drake Maye on that football field, and I absolutely believe it. Mike Vrabel is putting culture setters into place for this Patriots team. Even though they were rumored to go get Ashton Genty, maybe go get another big weapon for Drake Maye at the running back position, they said no. We want a massive culture setter in Will Campbell. They took him 4th overall, and the Patriots now really upgraded this offensive line. They went and got Garrett Bradbury at the center position, who I didn't mention in free agency. They got Morgan Moses as one of their tackles, and now they have Will Campbell as another one of their tackles. So this offensive line is significantly improved, but they would not stop bolstering up this offense in the draft. In the 2nd round, they went for former Ohio State running back in Travion Henderson, a guy who is so electric but had some injury problems in college. He would split carries with Quinshaw Judkins, the former Ole Miss running back who transferred over to Ohio State. But these two guys made up one of the best 1-2 punches in all of college football last year. And now Travion Henderson is going to share this backfield with Ramondre Stevenson. But I would not be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of the season if this was solely Travion Henderson's backfield. That is how great of a guy he can be. He's also a great culture piece for this Mike Vrabel team. That's really what you could tell what he was going for. Culture guys that are going to buy into his system. And Travion Henderson is absolutely one of those guys that is going to buy in. Now, in the 3rd round, the Patriots drafted a wide receiver number 2 to pair next to Stephon Diggs, a great rookie wide receiver out of Washington State in Kyle Williams. Now, this wasn't the most most loaded wide receiver class like last year's was, but there were definitely some diamonds in the rough. And Kyle Williams is a guy that I think is going to light it up for the New England Patriots. Now, Chris Sims, who is an analyst for NBC, you've probably seen him. I had the chance of interviewing him at the Super Bowl. He had said last year, when everybody was kind of in awe over Marvin Harrison Jr., generational prospect, deservedly so. Dude's going to be an absolute monster. He had said that Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors out of LSU were both going to be better than him. And he nailed both of those picks. Those guys were 1,000-yard plus receivers. This year, he is saying that Kyle Williams is going to be the number 2 receiver in this year's draft. And the Patriots snagged him in the 3rd round. I have some high hopes for him. Kyle Williams out of Washington State, learning and developing under Stephon Diggs. I think this is a really sneaky, underrated pickup for the Patriots, and they have now really filled out this offense. They get a cornerstone franchise tackle to protect this generational, potentially quarterback. They add this great running back who's going to buy into the Mike Vrabel culture, and they add an underrated receiver who tore it up in college, who's going to now learn and develop under Stephon Diggs. I think the Patriots absolutely killed it in one offseason, and it's so hard to do that. But if you remember the Houston Texans and the crazy turnaround they had a few years ago, I believe they kind of laid the blueprint out for this entire revitalization of a franchise. You can be terrible for a long time, have no hope, lose your franchise quarterback in Deshaun Watson, but still completely turn things around. And that's exactly what they did. They were terrible, but they got DeMeco Ryans, a culture setter, at the head coaching spot. Went out and drafted CJ Stroud, drafted Will Anderson. This team would go on to win a playoff game. I think the New England Patriots are capable of having that type of turnaround this year. A squad that was 4-13, a squad that has a rookie quarterback but needs weapons, needs protection in front of him. They now get the head coach in Mike Vrabel, who's had previous success, who played with the organization. This Patriots team is putting all of the pieces together, and now they have a solid defense. I have loved what the Patriots have done this offseason, and I think this was picture perfect for them if they want to get back into contention next year, because it's tough in the AFC. These young quarterbacks aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Lamar, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, CJ Stroud. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, and Drake Maye has the potential of being one of those great quarterbacks, but the Patriots need to put the proper pieces in place for him to succeed. They've done so. It's now time for New England to go win some football games this year. I could absolutely see this squad winning 10 games, being a fringe playoff team, ladies and gentlemen. Do not sleep on the New England Patriots. They are in store for a massive turnaround. I'm Caden Kubler, and thank you guys for watching.